I'm your host, and this is Gut Check Time. I'm back to you today with NFL Week 5 gambling picks, straight up picks, and a little bit of a preview on each game. This season is flying for the NFL. Week 5 already, Week 6 in college. It's going by way too fast. But this is the best month, October. You're going to get a little bit of everything. You're going to get baseball, you're going to get basketball, you're going to get football. It's the best time of the year, in my opinion, for sports fans. And we're going to start out with the Rams versus Seattle Thursday night game. But before I get into that, can you please hit that like button? Please subscribe if you want more content like this in the future. Thank you for doing that. And here we go. Rams versus Seattle. The Rams are getting 1.5 up in Seattle today. The over-under here is 49 points. The Rams are coming off a terrible loss to me. You gave up plus 50 points to the Buccaneers. You scored 40, but you turned the ball over 5 times. They need to get back to running Todd Gurley and Malcolm Brown, especially Malcolm Brown, because I think Todd Gurley's almost shot. I think those knees are going to go soon. I think he has arthritis in his knees, and I don't think he's going to last that much longer. So they need to ride Malcolm Brown and they need to ride Malcolm Brown and sprinkle in a little Todd Gurley. I would like to see 25 to 30 carries for those two guys tonight combined, and then Jared Goff throw it 25 to 30 times. He threw it 68 times last week, way too many. No quarterback should be throwing that much. And I just feel like this is a bounce back spot. I don't think Seattle's this very good football team. I think they're overrated. They played a pretty soft schedule so far. So I expect the Rams to win this game. I'm picking the Rams to win this game 31-20. So take the over of 49 points and take the Rams plus 1.5. Next up, we're going to have the Baltimore Ravens versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. I miss the old Baltimore Ravens versus Pittsburgh Steelers matchup back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. When you had Ben Roethlisberger staring into Ed Reed and Ray Lewis's eyes, and then you had Joe Flacco staring into Joey Porter and Troy Polamalu's eyes. Those were the days. Those were really fun games to watch. I like defensive football, so I like hard-hitting football, and those were definitely hard-hitting games. They still are, just not as fun, especially in the new age with Mason Rudolph and Lamar Jackson. I expected to be a little bit more high-scoring. I like Baltimore in this spot. Pittsburgh played a really bad Cincinnati Bengals team last week. I think the Bengals are probably one of the 3 worst teams in football. They don't really do anything great. They don't play defense very well. Their offensive lines and defensive lines aren't great. Their defensive line is probably their best unit, but still not a great unit. And then Andy Dalton, I can't really blame him too much, but I think he's been washed for years. I never really liked him. I always thought he had a very low ceiling. So I think Baltimore's going to win this game, and I think they're going to win this game 26-21. Pittsburgh's getting 3 points. That's not enough to me. I'm taking Baltimore -3, and I'm taking the over of 44.5 here. I think there'll be a total of 47 points scored, so I'm taking the over of 44.5. Next up, we have Gardner Minshew and the Jacksonville Jaguars versus Kyle Allen and the Carolina Panthers, so 2 backup quarterbacks. And I'm taking Uncle Rico in this one. I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars plus 3.5. There's something about Gardner Minshew. He's not super talented. He's not super clean in the pocket. He doesn't really have the greatest footwork, doesn't have the greatest release, but he has a moxie and this bravado that you can see from a mile away. Like, you can't underestimate it. He just gets the job done. Versus my Broncos last week, I think we lost that game when Joe Flacco threw that pick. I really do, because after that we played terrible, and I think Gardner Minshew kind of started believing at that point that he could win the game. And what did you know? They went down, kicked a field goal with no time on the clock, won the game 26-24. And I'm taking Jacksonville, like I said, plus 3.5 here. I think they're going to win this game on the road 24-20. So that puts it over the total of 41.5. So go over here with 44 points. So over 41 and Jacksonville plus 3.5. Also, I just don't believe the Panthers will be able to move the ball very well, because they only really have one true weapon in Christian McCaffrey. Curtis Samuels surprised me. He's done some good things, but I just don't believe Kyle Allen will be able to get the ball out, and I think he's going to be out under pressure the whole day with the Jaguars' defensive line, especially if Jalen Ramsey comes back. I really don't see how they're going to move the ball. So like I said, Jacksonville plus 3.5, and the over-under of 41, take the over. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are coming off a huge win versus the New Orleans Saints, who are also coming off a huge win. I was very impressed by the Saints overall as a team. Their offense obviously isn't going to be what it wants to be because Drew Brees is out. But Teddy Bridgewater did a formidable job there, and their defense is special. If Marshawn Lattimore can continue to play like that and shut down the number 1 wide receiver, they can be very good on defense. especially with Cam Jordan coming off the edge. The over-under here is 47 points. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think both these defenses are pretty good. I think they're both going to be top 12 at the end of the year. I don't believe in Jameis Winston. That's what it comes down to. I still don't. I think he's shown that he's better when a good coach is with him, obviously, because he's played much better this year than he has the last two. I don't believe in him enough to win a road game in New Orleans, in that dome. Too loud. They're too proud. They're going to beat the Buccaneers. I have the Saints winning this game 23-17 with a total of 40 points. So take the under of 47 and take New Orleans -3. Next up, I can't believe this. I'm shocked. It's obviously a result of last week. The Oakland Raiders traveled cross-country and beat the Colts at home. A bad team is what the Oakland Raiders are, and they beat a pretty good team in the Colts. So I was shocked by that game. Colts are getting 11 points here, though, on the road. That's way too many points to me. They have a good defense. Jacoby Brissett is showing us that he's a good quarterback, and I think they're just an overall good football team. So I'm definitely going to take Indianapolis in the 11 points here. And the over-under here is 56. I believe it goes over. I think Kansas City does win the game, but it's closer than that 11 points. I'm taking them 34-27 Kansas City, and I'm going over the 56 for a total of 61 points. So like I said, plus 11 Indy and over 56. And the reason I'm doing that is I think the Colts can copy what Detroit did. I think they've got a good enough defense to copy that. I think Detroit's a top 5 defense. I think the Colts are a top 10, so they're close enough and similar enough, and they have good enough pieces where they can kind of copy Detroit. I don't think they can be as effective as Detroit, especially since Kansas City's at home. But I also think I trust Frank Reich to call up better plays than Darrell Bevell, the offensive coordinator of the Lions. I feel like he'll do some good things in this game to get Jacoby Brissett some easy passes underneath, and then when they start creeping up, they hit him with the long ball with T.Y. Hilton if he's able to go in this game. I hope he is. If not, that could change this line for me, but I'm still going to take the Colts plus 11. I would take them anyways, even T.Y. Hilton was out. Next up, we're going to have the Cleveland Browns coming off their best win in probably the last 2 or 3 years. Their biggest win, their most important win, because now you have expectations. If they would have lost that game, the expectations probably would have been going away because they would have been 1-3. Now they're 2-2. You got a fighting chance to still make the playoffs, especially in that division. That division is one of the weakest in football, if not the weakest, versus the San Francisco 49ers. So the Cleveland's getting +4 here, and the under here is 46.5. I'm going to take Cleveland to win this game outright. So give me Cleveland +4 and give me the over of 46.5. I believe Cleveland wins this game 27-21. I still don't believe in Jimmy Garoppolo. The last time I saw him on the field, he wasn't leading that offense very well because that offense had 5 turnovers, and he was a part of that too. Not as big as a part of it as the running backs were, but he was still a part of it. And they really haven't had a tough schedule at this point. They played the Steelers, they played the Bengals, and they played the Buccaneers. I don't think any of those teams are great, so I expect Cleveland to beat San Francisco. Next up, we'll be just talking about all the other games. I won't be giving you gambling picks for these as usual after the first 6 games. This will be the next game I'll be talking about is the Jets versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm taking Phil in this one. Sam Darnold's not back, and even if he was, I'm not taking him on the road here versus Philadelphia. I think they found their groove last week in Green Bay, and they had 10 days to prepare for a bad Jets team. They're winning this game easily. Vikings versus the Giants. I'm taking the Vikings to win this game. I think Daniel Jones struggles versus the best defense by far he's played. But I don't expect Kirk Cousins to do much in this game either, but I am taking the Vikings. Atlanta versus Houston. I'm done with Atlanta. You lost to an average at best football team last week at home in Tennessee. I don't know what's going to happen to Dan Quinn. It's hard for me to say he should be fired because he's made the playoffs. He made the playoffs 2 out of the last 3 years. If he doesn't make it this year, that's 2 out of 4. So you're batting 50%. I don't know who else you could get though in there. Maybe if Kyle Shanahan struggles with the 49ers coming down the stretch and they finish around 7-9, and you throw him a big offer, make him come back to Atlanta, where he's once the former offensive coordinator when they went to the Super Bowl. But this team should be better than they are. 1-3, and you have all that talent. I mean, your wide receiving core is Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, and Calvin Ridley. Your backfield is Ito Smith, Devontae Freeman. And your defense has Deion Jones, Vic Beasley, Desmond Trufant. I mean, you're loaded all over the place you look. I don't understand why they're 1-3. So I think he should be fired if they don't make the playoffs, especially if they finish under 500. Under 500, no doubt, you're gone, Dan Quinn. If you finish over 500 and you're competing for a playoff spot, I think you keep him for 1 more year. I'm taking Houston to beat Atlanta. I'm done picking the Falcons unless they're playing one of the 5 worst teams in the league. and Houston is not one of those teams. Buffalo versus Tennessee, I'm taking Buffalo. Buffalo showed me a lot, even though they lost to New England last week at home. Their defense is very good. Josh Allen needs to get better from throwing in the pocket, though. He was 12 of 25 with 2 interceptions versus the Patriots in the pocket. That's not good whatsoever. But I'm taking the Bills to beat Tennessee on the road. The Cardinals versus Cincinnati, I'm taking the Cardinals. Again, Cardinals have to win a game. They're not going 0-16. They're not going 1-15. I think they'll win 2 to 3 games. I think this will be one of them because I think the Bengals are atrocious. I'm taking the Cardinals over the Bengals. Patriots versus the Redskins. Not much to say. I'm taking the Patriots. Chicago versus Oakland. This is in London. Khalil Mack over under 2 sacks. I'm going over. I think he's going to have 3 to 4 sacks on his old team. I think he's going to dominate them. I think the Oakland Raiders only score 10 points. I think Chicago wins this game running away. Denver versus the Chargers. My Broncos suck. We're going to lose to the Chargers on the road. Could we win? We could. Because guess what? We should be 2-2. But guess what? Great football teams win those games. I don't care about the bad penalties called on those last drives. You shouldn't have put yourself in that position. I'm taking the Chargers to beat my Broncos. Green Bay versus the Cowboys. Another good game. I think both coming off surprising losses, by the way. Not surprising to me for Green Bay losing to Philadelphia, but New Orleans one did surprise me for Dallas losing there. Like I said, both coming off big losses. I'm going to take the Cowboys at home. I think it's going to be a really good game, but I'm taking the Cowboys at home. That'll do it for the NFL gambling picks and predictions. Thank you for watching. Please like the video. Please subscribe down below if you want more content like this in the future. Thank you.